I would call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. Roll call
Bender,
Here.
Ermeling,
here.
Mandel is not here, and then do I just call White? Does that, I don't know how to do a roll call when there's a fill-in.
Well, just have to say,
Alternate.
all
Trustee White filling in for,
Perfect,
there you go,
vacant positions.
there you go.
yes.
Now, is he gonna write a letter?
He emailed.
Oh, okay. I just want something that we haven't, Okay. Approval of minutes of the previous meeting of November 15th.
I so move to approve.
Motion by Bender,
Second.
second by White. On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Public comments, anybody from finance? All righty, nobody's rushing forward. Is there anyone on the Zoom by computer?
I think it's just staff.
Okay, by phone? All righty. Acknowledge work product transmittals, November budget status report.
I have a nice write-up for November statistics. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions?
No, I was just commented, I like the narrative part, explains a lot of the numbers that are just, can be overwhelming, so I appreciate the narrative.
Do I have a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
Motion by Bender,
I'll second.
second by White. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Educational presentation and reports, ARPA funding update.
We put a quick slideshow together on this one. There we go. So we've been listening to a lot of webinars. We got original funds of 1.1 million in May. We've just been dragging our feet, kind of not really promoting any spending. Plus, we're also waiting for the final rule instead of the interim final rule. So right now, with the funds must be expended or committed by December 31st, 2024. I think it's really time that the village really start thinking about this. With the delay in acting, there's more money that could be coming our way. There's a couple other bills out there. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that was actually approved and passed. We're at a webinar with the state last week. They are awaiting their allocation. So obviously good news. They kind of had a general number of what monies they'll be getting, but it's not finalized yet. So, and then the BBB, the Build Back Better Act, it's not quite there yet. That has not gotten approval at the federal level, but if it does move forward, there is some funds there that could also benefit the village.
So you're saying there's really no rush in trying to figure out what to do with the money?
Well,
It hasn't done, but I think it's.
we need to start thinking about it.
I mean, I guess I would caution about just sitting on it if we have something that's eligible and we should be doing it or it'd be a good idea to do it. We don't have funds for it, but I guess I wouldn't want to wait till.
Forever on that, yeah.
Yeah. Save some for later.
Excellent.
Can we take this one?
Sure.
Okay. So on the webinars, I threw some slides in here from some of the ones that we've been on that say the things that are helpful to say instead of redoing them. We credited them. So this one was from Baker Tilly. So it's just kind of the uses of the funds that are coming. So I focused on American Rescue Plan and then the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs. So the American Rescue Plan is mainly still kind of a continuation of the CARES Act funds where they're really to support like COVID and they're trying to help with revenue loss, basically stabilize the economy and try to help with effects of the pandemic. Whereas the infrastructure one that is coming is more to actually fix some of the issues and provide funding for like critical infrastructure that needs to be taken care of. So those are both in the works. So this one is from Baker Tilly as well, and this is just all of the funding that's kind of floating around and all of the uses and allocations. Just kind of immense how much money there is. And there's lots of other organizations that are receiving receiving money as well, in addition. Yes, monopoly money.
The strategy is to slow down, like we said, there's no rush, but it gives us an opportunity to strategically use the federal funding to benefit the community and really take a look at the pots of money available that could be available and make sure you're under the correct pot to get the maximum benefit.
So there's kind of two subsets of strategizing. We have to be cognizant of the compliance and reporting since it is federal funding. And then we also need a strategy for how we want to kind of manage the funds and how we want to spend the funds. So the compliance and reporting, we need to get everything up to code basically with uniform guidance so that if we go into a single audit, we are good and do not have any findings there. Mostly the internal controls, a procurement policy, and then coming up with what documentation requirements that we want to have. And then the managing or spending of the funds, really want to come up with long-term planning, looking at all of the funds that are going to be coming, identify the community needs, potentially involve the community in our decision-making, collaborate with other entities that have also received funds, so our funds go a little bit further. Potentially investing some of the funds until we're ready to spend them, and just trying to get the largest community benefit.
The single audit is required once we have more than $750,000 or more spent in a year. So just because we received 1.1 million this year, will not be subject to a single audit because we didn't spend it. If we were to spend it between now and the 31st, we would have to be paying for a single audit, but we're not there. But that's one of our concerns is we need to make sure that we are in a position to have a successful single audit. And so I think you have some things on the next slide.
So I just did some quick, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's lots of internal control requirements and whatnot in the uniform guidance to go through that we'll have to make sure that we're in compliance with.
One of them is the procurement policy. So we have one right now in our approved policies, but does it specifically meet the UG requirements? That is something that we need to make sure we read through and make sure that it is in compliance. So that is not a finding for our audit that we do not have proper procedures for procurement.
Are we gonna need some outside help for some of this?
That's in our next item.
Yes. That's where we're going. So this one, Baker Tilly has something they call the Baker Tilly Compass, which is kind of compliance management and then also strategic. So it's just kind of how to manage all of these funds as they're coming. It's just kind of assess, identify and align your resources, come up with a plan, then actually come up with a multi-year plan of how to execute that, and then monitor the progress.
A combined effort and constant process to utilize key resources to help achieve community goals. So that's where you can go out to the community and you also have other key players such as the board, and you can have the engineers. If we were to pick, say, a water project, our engineers have to be part of our team to make sure these funds would be used properly. That that we met all the guidelines for a federal program.
Okay. This is another Baker Tilly one, just top 5. Basically, we need to figure out all of the funding sources that we're going to be getting and where each of them is best spent. We need to get our policies and documentation in order to comply with federal guidelines. And then once we're ready to actually make payments, we have to determine what kind of reporting we'll have to do based on type of payment and what the requirements are for our contractors. Just minimize the village's risk to make sure we don't have findings and get banned from federal funding, because that would be sad.
Outside assistance, so we were, should we wait till the next item? Or should we look at this?
I figured I'd just give kind of an overview.
Okay, at this point, we're looking at Baker Tilly. It is a separate item. We reached out, so in the community for government auditors, there is Kerber Rose, who's our current auditor. There's Hawkins, who was our auditor, CLA, Baker Tilly, and then Whitley. So we have 5 major players of government auditors or accounting firms that would do this type of service. So we reached out to CLA, we have not heard anything back. Kerber Rose is our auditor, so we really don't want to consider them because they can't audit the procedures that they would help us develop. And then Hawkins isn't that big. And then Whitley just hasn't been in there that much, so they haven't really been a big player right now in government. So this is where we ended up. And so that would be on the next agenda, and item if we could consider that. Outside help.
Yeah, that's just a scope, so we can go over that further in the other one. That's basically helping us get in compliance, so we know we're good to go.
Yeah, I would say it would be real easy to this step.
Yeah,
It's immense,
Yeah, I mean, just the little you showed us, it's going like,
yeah.
Another thing to really think about right now and drag our feet a little bit more is there's a flexibility act out there and it's got a lot of approvals at the federal level. And what that act does is it really loosens some of the strings on this ARPA money or ARP money, American Recovery monies. So if we're gonna keep up to date, but if that does go through, besides the revenue loss calculation, which we have around 800,000, we would be able to use more funds with less restrictions. So we'll keep you up to date, and that will definitely change our plans as we move forward if that does get passed.
I know.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so we're gonna go fast, but basically our timeline, we want to get up to code with compliance and then look at basically talking about how we want to spend the funds and coming up with a good plan for that. And then this is kind of the same thing.
Where do we go from here? We need to get a team together. I think getting a special session with the board just to talk about this would be great. And we also need to see, do we want outside help to help us do this? With the different pockets of money that are eligible, we really need to see what our goals are. And are we gonna be going out to get more of these funds? The ARPA money was given to us, but the other monies that are gonna be available are something we're gonna have to go get. The state's gonna have some of it, but this is gonna be grant applications, making sure we have projects that are eligible, and when we're writing up the grant, that it's a good write-up that we can get the funds.
So I think I have to
is that it?
and then make it, yes.
So I think we're on to the next agenda item.
Okay, we did the, what,
That was just an
compliance
update.
and everything, okay?
We're on number 7.
Okay, you don't need no action on this at all, just, okay, for information. Policy issues, discussion and possible action on hiring outside assistant to assist with ARPA funds compliance.
So I handed out a piece of paper because we did not get their engagement letter until early this morning.
I got it here somewhere. Here we go.
One of the things I wanted to point out, it is a pretty narrow focus, which I think is good. We want to make sure that they focus on helping us with what we want. We can lower the threshold. She said we could just put 10,000 in there because 10,000, when we're doing procurement, anything under 10,000 has less rules to follow, so that's why she put that. But we can definitely change that for a different dollar amount if we are comfortable with that. We could always come back and ask for more monies if we need it. But the main thing is they're gonna be walking through our controls, they're gonna be walking through the policies that we have and help develop new policies if we need them to stay compliant with the UG guidelines. Is there any questions on it? I guess I kind of explained why we really didn't go out for an RFP because there aren't any firms that, it's kind of a specialized service, knowing that one of them's our auditor, the other couple don't have the capacity to really help, and then we have the one that didn't get back to us.
So I gather from your presentation and also from this engagement letter, is that what it's called?
Yes, engagement letter.
So if we set the threshold lower than $10,000, then in this process, they come against that threshold, are we gonna have to come back and authorize more funds?
You would be talking with us and say, okay, we gave you this much, why do you need more?
Right.
I think that's.
Well, I understand that, but since this is a wholly new process, and let's face it, most of us don't really know what's.
It shouldn't be 10 grand. You saw the hourly rates.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
The person that we'll be working with, a lot of the times they will not have you a lot of time for their senior managers. They try to get a lot of the staff to do it, so you're looking at the associates, a lot of the legwork associates, and then they work with the senior staff. And per what I've read, they're gonna be asking a lot from us. They're gonna be having questionnaires that we're gonna be doing, walkthroughs that, and it's gonna be a one-on-one. And so there's not a ton of legwork that they'd be doing on their own. It's more of an analysis of what we already have.
I would anticipate it would be less than 10, just because of, like you said, the scope is very, very narrow, and that's what they're looking at to begin with. So I would not anticipate them coming back to get more funds. And even with that in mind, part of the issue that they're turning around and putting it at the 10 is because you can identify that as part of those costs related to this program. And therefore, you aren't hitting the number values to make sure for the requisitioning or purchasing areas. So it's kind of like, we're doing this to make sure that we don't hit that limit, so that if we have to change our procedures, we can change them before we get to that limit, is what it amounts to, so.
My wife, just going through, I just think this is just crawling with opportunities to do a misstep. I mean, really, it's, I love all this money given out with no instructions what to do with it.
When I was at the healthcare center, we always had the single audit, but the single audit has changed so drastically from when I was there that this definitely has to be, looked at, I guess is what it amounts to, so.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Through this process, would both of you become more familiar with it, that with more money coming, we wouldn't have to ask?
Oh,
More
this is a
direction?
one-time thing. So
Right, yeah.
the single audit guidelines changed significantly in 2014.
Okay,
And
okay.
with that change in 2014, we never got up to date.
okay. Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
So,
So then, Yeah, I gotta make sure I got the right agenda in front of me. Well, do we need any action on item 7?
Yes.
I would assume to approve or not approve? Oh, yeah, I got this thing right in front of me on the screen. What's your pleasure?
Okay, I'll move to recommend the board approve a contract with Baker Tilly and use ARPA funds up to $5,000 to assist in ensuring the village's compliance of single audit guidelines.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll have a second.
Bender? Motion by White, second by Bender. On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, item 8, 2021 budget amendments.
Pretty quick, so as we put our budget together, our crystal ball's not always clear, so we've had a really good year in winter maintenance specifically, so there's a couple other items that we ended up, I know there's an election equipment that we had budgeted for, and we didn't need to use those funds because we bought the equipment last year. So down below on the spreadsheet, I have a list of GL accounts that we are looking at amending. And then the areas where we plan on putting the money. One of the areas specifically is safer. We have it, but we are looking to spend $103,000 and that would be paying off our safer deficit. So we would be done.
That'd be nice.
Very exciting.
You're
Very good.
It is early, it's a few years early. I think
Couple
this
years
is
early?
only the second year of the payback, so.
Good.
Okay, that would be
That'd be
great.
good.
Okay.
Get that out of the,
Yes.
yeah. Okay,
So with
anybody have
that,
any more questions on the budget amendment?
I think they're pretty well laid out.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I so move to recommend the village board approve the proposed 21 budget amendments as presented.
Motion by Bender,
I will second.
second by White. On the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, the next item, dental premium rates for 2022.
So last year we brought this to you because our fund balance was increasing. We are self-funded for dental. And our fund balance is still increasing. We're looking at going up to $98,000. Corey from Spectrum really recommends between 20 and 30. So at this point, we're looking at another recommendation to reduce our premium. Again, it's about a 25% decrease. And just to see how next year looks. There was another option that we could end up improving the benefits offered by dental. I think we should see what the decrease does, and if we still are continuing to see an increase, that's maybe we should throw that to the HR committee and see if increasing our benefits would be a great idea, so.
How would that impact the village's portion?
So at this point, increasing the benefits, we kind of would have to look to see, Corey kind of had projected what an increase would be, because there's like 3 different plans that she had out there that we could have changed to. So,
Yeah, because I mean, if we, I can never remember with this self-funding, I mean, if we increase and the rates, I don't know. Because how does this affect the village's portion? We pay, what is it? We pay for it, don't we, pretty much?
We pay a portion of it.
Right.
Used to pay 100%.
It's 90%.
90%.
You know, it's close to being, you know, so, I mean, what does this do to the village's pocket?
so we're looking at the decrease, so that will be a savings to the village, just by a slight amount of 25%.
And because we're self-funded, the reality is that if the claims come in and are more than what the premiums are, the balance or fund balance will take care of that until we, in theory, till
Adjust
next
the rates.
year when we
Right,
adjust. the
right, but I'm
requirements.
just, I just wanted to make sure if we're decreasing it for the employees, that the village is getting some,
Yeah, it's the
Savings
whole
also.
rate.
The whole premium.
okay. I mean,
I have another question.
sure, Mr. White.
Is there still a insurance committee from staff that gets together and discusses insurance coverage, or has that gone away?
Have usually just focused on health insurance. I don't think we ever brought the committee together for dental, which is something we could probably definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, we sought input from staff on the health insurance, those of us that don't have all our own teeth realize how important dental insurance coverage is. Especially when you have kids.
The only reason I hesitate is, one time the county did that they increased the coverage, say instead of $1,000, they went to $2,000 or something. And they found that really increased their costs. So,
These are just individual plans, like they would be adding a little bit more for, I think, the implant coverage would be at like $535. They would, you would get an additional checkup if you're pregnant or going through cancer treatments where the chemo would be eating away at your teeth. You'd be able to, they would fund one more. So,
Those are things that would happen if we were to
add the
make some
additional.
improvements as we covered. Right now,
Yeah.
we're not talking about changing coverage
Just
at all.
changing the premium.
Yeah,
Just changing the
right,
premium.
this year we're looking at
okay,
reducing the premium, and for all entities, it would be a decrease of 17,793 employer only.
So it's not substantial at this point, so.
okay, what's your pleasure?
I recommend the board of trustees approve the adjusting the dental rates to the recommended values.
A motion by Bender,
I will second.
second by White. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Okay, now we are on capital improvement plan and borrowing update.
So I just want to let you know that the village is moving forward with issuing a 20-year bond, hopefully in January, to take advantage of the low interest rates yet. I think I've read on the internet somewhere that they're looking at increasing rates 3 different times next year. Not sure if that's gonna happen, but hopefully we can get our 20-year bond set before rates go up too much. That's gonna be just over $9 million that we'd be issuing. And as I said before, that is going to be the public works, the part of the building that houses machinery and equipment. So that's the legal term that we have to pay attention to when we're issuing bonds prior to completion. And that we can issue for a full 20-year right away, so.
Okay, but that's, you can't, the building, municipal building itself, you
No,
can't.
just
All the administrative parts of the municipal building need to have gone through an issue of a GO note, so a 10-year note, and then refinanced to a 20-year bond.
Mhm.
So,
I knew there was something there and I couldn't remember what.
yeah.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Well, just a minute, so this is,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rush you.
this is something we can bring back, because I think it really needs a little bit more discussion and time to discuss than we have tonight. This is a plan that Ellers put together, and it has projected our future borrowings in addition to the new municipal center. So, Greg put this together with the new projected interest rates that might be coming forward in the next few years, which if they're up, it's probably gonna increase the costs that than what we saw previously when he presented this, so. It's something that I think we need to look through and see if it's still something that we wanna stick with, for our 5-year capital plan.
So I don't know if the rest of you read it, but I get the letter from the financial report from Ehlers every month. And it did drop from November to, the last report, they dropped a little bit. I am concerned that if we don't act on this, but we need to act appropriately, we're gonna miss the opportunity to finance at an extremely reasonable rate.
Right, that was my concern all along. You know.
As you saw in Greg's list, it said that the 9.1, that's the one that we're looking at doing as soon as possible. And then the remainder, we're just gonna have to wait. There's nothing we can do.
Right.
We have a short-term note issued with Inner City at 0.89% right now. So it's a really good rate. Unfortunately, eventually we'll be refunding that with the 20-year.
At a higher rate probably.
Might even be a year from now. We're not sure. The project has to be completed and wrapped up, so.
That probably wouldn't be till after October of 2020. From what I
October
understand, the
anyway.
schedule's October 22.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, the question really isn't, I mean, we're committed to that project, as you know, I guess. The question is how much additional capital spending are we still comfortable with on top of that, as we've looked at in the past?
Yeah, but I think if we can lock in
This part,
even
as much as we
partial,
can.
part of it at a lower rate, we really shouldn't, you know.
No, that's already in progress. We're working with Greg right now to get that.
sounds good.
Okay, is there anything we need to do on this or just,
No, I think we'll just bring that back.
okay,
Okay,
for the next agenda? Alrighty, then we have, okay, resolution ordinance? Nothing, future items, next meeting, January 17th? That look good for for everyone? Does that look good for you, Bob?
at this time, yes.
Well, aren't
I plan on being here.
aren't you special though?
Right. Be one and only at this point, so.
Topics for future meetings, vendor addition procurement checklist, direct payments, referendum discussion, policy reviews, and then this item we just talked about now. Was there anything else we had? I don't think so.
No.
Well, whatever staff finds, I guess. Remarks from staff?
Nothing.
Remarks from committee member? Well, White, you are now a member on sitting here.
I have no comments, Madam Chairman.
All right, and I have none. Any announcements? Just that we have to look for some committee members. Okay, adjournment, so moved by Bender,
I'll second.
second by White. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at